Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Nice.
Is audio working for anyone?
I just heard something.
I heard you, but I'm not hearing anything from the meeting itself.
Okay, thank you. I'm not hearing anything either.
Aren't you on Rotary?
I can't get in.
You couldn't get in? Did you push the thing? The right thing?
Uh,
I gave you the email.
I know.
There was a
I
connection down below.
I got in. There's no sound.
Oh,
I don't know where the meeting is. No one else can hear a sound either.
how do you know?
Because they asked if anybody could hear anything.
Buford, I don't think anybody else is getting any sound either.
You are.
Well, I can hear you, but I can't hear anybody else.
Yeah, where's, I don't believe they have the, they might probably have it on mute at the meeting itself.
Oh, I
My
see.
guess, hi, this is Jennifer. My guess is that they have it on mute until the meeting actually starts.
Okay, so what, 12:10?
Yeah, probably, I would guess 12:15. By the time they get done eating lunch and everything, probably 12:15. I can text Heather. Well, hi, everyone. Nice to see your smiling pictures. Rod and I are here.
Thought the city of Brainerd had some ordinance about snow after the 10th of April.
You know what? We lost that ordinance. Or the weather doesn't listen to us. Take your pick.
Okay,
But I'm with you. So it looks like Heather is logged on twice. Must be one on her phone and. Oh, it's on the screen up
Yes.
there. Oh, hi, Heather.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Here's all the people.
Hi, all the people. Oh, looks like a good turnout.
I don't know what I did, but I lost my picture.
Say hi, Ed.
Heather, can you pass host to me?
Oh, that's an excellent idea.
And then I can host it from the Zoom end.
Okay. That's an excellent idea.
Why, thank you. Sometimes I have one of those. They're rare, but every once in a while it'll pop in.
We should probably assign a Zoom host every day. Oh, I'm talking to these folks.
And the
Well,
feedback
it'll
and
be
the
fun.
noise is pretty loud in the background, Heather. If you want to keep your phone on, I may just text you.
I can't get my picture on this thing. I had it. Then-
So as I get close to the microphone, there gets to be a lot of feedback.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
We're gonna hope for the best today because they're doing it panel style, so we don't have the ability to pass the microphone.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot my mask. Ah,
It's nice. Smiley face.
so yeah, like I said, we're gonna try and do our best. And what I'll probably do when the panel starts speaking is mute the computer and then turn this one on and see if we can pick it up from the PA system.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you want me to text you and let you know?
Or actually, since you're a host, can you host or can you mute the computer when the presentation, when they turn it over to the speakers?
I sure can. So you're on twice. You must have logged on the computer and on your cell phone.
Yeah, so the one that has Trevor in it on there right now, that
Yeah.
is the computer.
Okay. I will do
So
that.
you'll mute that one and then I'll turn the audio off on this one and hopefully there's not a lot of feedback.
Okay. Well, try to enjoy your lunch, Heather. Thanks for doing this. And Buford, I did send Trevor. I'm not sure if Trevor can hear us. Trevor, can you hear us? I did send Trevor a message asking him to announce the pins, the Paul Harris pins. And then I also reached out to Jody, and Jody will do the invocation, just so you know. And you're muted, Buford. I muted you, so we didn't have your feedback. So Heather, I'm wondering if you're singing. I can't hear and I can't unmute. I have to ask to unmute.
all concerned. And our prayers with Jody, there she is.
I saw this from Mother Teresa, and I'd like to read it to you today. People are often unreasonable and selfish. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people are accusing you sometimes of ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're honest, people may cheat you. Be honest anyway. If you find happiness, people may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. For you see, in the end, it's between you and God, and it's never between them anyway. Amen.
All right. And then our guests, we have our past district governor. Who am I forgetting, Rick? No? Am I forgetting something? No, you're just staying up. Everybody else, okay. Everybody stood up too long there. Made me a little nervous. I forgot something. I got Don Pierce. I've been $1 million. Don's on the TV there somewhere. Right there. He's right there in front of me. Oh, never mind. I didn't see him. Gloria Mink. We got Jill Carlson, the crisis is district training here today. And then Don Peterson, I didn't see, but I missed, Don Ryan, I didn't see, I don't think, for the crisis committee. But perfect. Announcements, roadside pickup is May 18th. They wanted us to be reminded that kids under 12 need a permission slip or special permission to do that and help. Jeff Brooks is running that. We're also asked, and I to wear our Rotary pins, which we're supposed to do anyhow, but I didn't have mine on today after I was being told to tell people to wear it. But I got a message to try to encourage that this whole month and kind of make an effort to do so. Any other announcements? Oh, guest, yes, guest, I'm sorry, guest.
Rotary Foundation board today made a couple of grants, one through the outreach program.
Oh, sorry.
Rotary Foundation met today and made some grants. We made a grant to the outreach program. Those of you who helped package food would remember that. And Paul is going to help me here. We also made a grant to camp intervention, and quite a difference. And we had done that in the past. They last year struggled and couldn't get together. They did a remote thing that turned out really well for them. So we did some scholarship money to them today as well. Now, some of you know that Scott Hubert left the club, moved to Wilmer to work. So he had been on the foundation board. Kevin Larson is moving his membership to Custer, South Dakota, and he has been on the foundation. So we have an opening on our club Rotary Foundation available if somebody's interested in participating. We meet about once a month generally, and we oversee our investments in our foundation, and we do the granting program annually out of those funds, including this year funds that were transferred from the club for us to do COVID relief granting, and we've been rolling that out as we see fit in the appropriate areas, and we're down to about a couple $1,000 in that fund. If you're interested, talk to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other announcements from the floor? One other announcement, I believe, unless I missed the last meeting, I was on vacation, we still have a board position for Youth and New Generations, I believe, 2 open. That's open for some time. So if anybody's interested in that, we have that as well. And if no other announcements, we have our Sergeant at Arms, and is Andy here right there?
Trevor, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can.
So I think another announcement, this is Jennifer. Buford had asked if people next week could wear their Paul Harris pins. Buford, is that right? I just wanted to make sure that that announcement was made also. And Buford is muted.
Sorry, so I had an incorrect announcement, not just your pins, your Paul Harris pins, and I screwed up. And I need a sergeant at arms here, people. Who, let's start with happy dollars and I'll find a sergeant.
Stand behind there.
Yeah.
Trevor, it has to pick up on both microphones.
Oh, both microphones. I'm sorry. Sure. Well, they can't hear on the big screen.
We're doing some staining at my house if the weather shapes up for the Rotary Park structure. Are you listening, John Forrest? I hope he is. So it's been delayed a little bit, but we're getting there. Pete will give you the full report.
All right. Other happy dollars.
I have one if you all can hear me.
Both mics.
Yeah, so my name's Chris, and obviously I'm calling in virtually today. Yeah, I'm up there.
I'm sorry. Hey, Chris, sorry. Go again.
Okay, my name's Chris. Obviously I'm calling in virtually. So my happy dollar is last week I said that if I gave away all of the Children's Museum's play packets that I brought, I would donate $20 to Rotary. So today I just donated $20 to Rotary because I gave away all the play packets, which was awesome. And then my sad dollar, which I'll throw in, is for the next 5 weeks I have to be virtual because I have a every Tuesday a thing that starts at 12:30 that I have to do here for every Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. So you all will only be seeing me digitally for a few weeks. So happy and sad.
Awesome. Thank you.
I haven't been here for a long time, so I'm just happy to be here. Every Tuesday, I teach a personal finance class at AEC, how to buy a car, how to rent an apartment, things like that, and it's at the same time. So that'll be done on the 18th of May, and I'm really excited to come back. And for those of you who have been on the Max journey with us throughout the years of my kid Max, he is now at boot camp today. So he's joined the military.
So yeah, I was gonna say good luck on that one.
Brett with Close Converse. We were at our daughters and our son-in-laws in Grand Forks, and they announced that they are expecting their first child, be number 5 for us and Julie and I. So really happy about that.
Anybody else on the big screen there on the computer have a happy dollar for me?
Trevor, this is Jennifer. I have a happy dollar, or maybe a sad dollar. So I'm sad that I'm not able to join you. I was exposed to COVID, even though I've had my first shot. The CDC is still requiring us to quarantine, waiting patiently or impatiently to get my COVID test results. But the happy part of this is, you know, it's snowing outside. It is April 13th, and I didn't have to go anywhere. So there's my happy dollar.
Awesome. Yep. Do I have a hand wave there? No. On TV?
This is Sam Anderson.
I thought I did.
With Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. I have a happy dollar. I've been working for the last year and a half for the organization, trying to find a location in Alexandria where we could have a new campus and expand services. And just last week, we got a signed purchase agreement on a jewel of a property in just off of downtown Alexandria, 15 acres wooded, overlooking a lake. And now we just need to begin the process of raising the money to build the new building. But I'm super excited. We'll be doing an open house in Alex this Friday to launch the campaign and share the great news. So we're really excited.
Awesome. Anybody else on the big screen? Nope. I'll go a happy dollar here. One happy dollar is Select Therapy has actually had a month where we're not down revenue wise from 2019, so that's really awesome. I'll give 20 for that. And two, my house is being roofed today, one day late on the snow. I'm building that house, but it'll be dry for the next snowstorm. So $2 happy. Anybody else? Awesome. So our speaker today is Jill Casper, and she is talking about poverty panel. Awesome.
So the other caveat of my kid being in basic training is that I don't leave my phone because I know he's going to call me at some point. So I go running out of the room. That's because he called. I'm really excited to share these three women with you today. Normally for the Brainerd Chamber Leadership, we do a poverty simulation. So community members, hopefully next year we'll be able to do it again, live as a family for 1 month in poverty, and they have to navigate the social services system and all those different kinds of things. And when we were looking at purchasing that program, Kilo went with me down to Minneapolis and we participated in it. And she had really great perspective. So for the Chamber Leadership Program this year, we were not allowed, obviously, due to COVID. So we did a poverty panel. And so I picked 3 of the smartest people I know on the subject in the Brainerd Lakes area. And it went over really, I keep looking at Paula because she's the one who I coordinated it with. It was really a highly rated session, and the people that participated said they learned so much. So I would really like to bring it to you today. So I'm just the facilitator. I'm not the speaker. You get the experts. So I think what we'll do is, but it's attached to the computer. This is that's the camera. So where's the other mic? Okay. Okay. I've had terrible technology issues today, like since 7 o'clock this morning. So this is just typical. All right. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So introduce yourself and why the issue of poverty is important to you. Sorry.
We can't hear anything now.
Hi, I'm Shannon Mills. I'm the executive director of Student. This topic was very important to me because I deal with people on a daily basis and facing standards. And so I always like the opportunity to get your voice for that population. Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and so I have my degrees in social work and do therapy in and also an instructor of the social program. This topic is important for those reasons and also some personal reasons that so as you look at what's the stigma that you see around poverty and those who are experiencing poverty? I think one of the biggest stigmas is that people choose to be in poverty and they don't mind being in poverty, or that it was choices that they made to be themselves in poverty. And yes, sometimes it's the case, but a lot of it has to do with it's a bigger issue than just them choosing to be in poverty. I think another individuals are working for, or that and this is from farmer people who are in poverty, like
training them on the system. I know more than this, but just that it's stigma is one of that judgment. Like education, people have school training or acceptance, car cultures, just a judgment difference.
And one thing I think there's stigma around for people being unmotivated or lazy or not doing enough to get themselves up and out of their situation. And we can talk about that a little bit more when we cover the working for question. And Jennifer alluded a little bit, what are some realities versus myths of, we might have covered the other things you're saying, right? Well, kind of to go off what I said about working, I think there's a myth that poor people don't want to work, or again, if they just worked a little bit harder, they could pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And in all reality, most people who are on public assistance programs are actually employed. And I think I'll hit one more and then I'll pass it on. And I think another myth is that poor people squander their money or they spend money on things that they maybe shouldn't. And I have a really quick story on that. I had a mom that I worked with that was using WIC vouchers. And if you're not familiar with that program, it stands for Women, Infants, and Children. And it's vouchers that families can use to provide healthy foods for their infants and toddlers. So formula, fruits and vegetables, that sort of thing. And with it comes the nutritional education through our public health department. It's a great program. And back in the day, you would get these really big vouchers. And you have a big folder that you had to bring with you, and it was really obvious that you were using public assistance to make your grocery purchases. The mom I was working with went to pay for her items, and the woman behind her started chastising her for using her tax dollars to pay for food for her child because she was carrying a Coach purse, and how dare her use tax money when she can afford a Coach purse, she can afford to pay for things on her own. This mom of mine called and was very upset. I said she was at the grocery store without her items, and she went on to say, you know, the one good thing that came out of this is that the knockoff Coach purse that I got for free from my cousin must look like a real one, and the woman behind me thought that it was. And I just thought that's such a great story that what you see with your eyes might not be really what's going on behind the scenes. So, Shannon, do you want to share that?
For reality's first myth, there are plenty of jobs out there. Get a job. Sometimes there's lots of barriers to get a job, and I'll give you an example. So about a year and a half ago, I was working with, I showed up at the soup kitchen, and the group that was supposed to serve forgot, and so I showed up by myself, and I asked any of the guests if they wanted to come help me, and so I had 5 guests show up. 5 guests volunteered to help me, and one of the couples slept in a tent down by the river that night before, and so they were really thankful to help because they got to stay in longer, and it was so great getting to chat with them. But I was telling the story to someone, and they're like, well, why don't they go get a job? And I was like, well, you think of the realities of going to a job, and there's so many barriers of they slept in a tent the night before. Where do you go to shower? Where do you put out your belongings? So those are barriers that people have to get through, and they need help to get through in order to get a job. And it can be possible, just sometimes they need help to get a job. And another myth is you can tell who is in poverty. You can't always tell who's in poverty. Another example is we had grocery handout at the soup kitchen this past year, and one of our organizations delivered groceries to someone that called and said they needed groceries, and they pulled up to this beautiful house and kind of were like, why do they need groceries? Like, they have this beautiful house. And they brought it up there and knocked on the door, and they opened the door, and the house was completely empty. Nothing inside, and they had sold things inside their house in order to pay their bills. So sometimes we can't tell who's in poverty or know why people are in poverty.
So I have my notes on my phone. I'm not texting. I think some really big myths are related to policy. So this idea that individuals who are in poverty kind of live off the system. First, that's not possible. An individual who makes their living on welfare benefits is surviving, not living or thriving. So as an individual, I grew up in poverty. I was raised in poverty, and I had a child in high school and then continued to live in poverty for many years afterwards. And married out of poverty. I did go to school and I went and worked really hard and tried to do my very best to get an education and to make enough money to live. But ultimately, that wasn't possible as a single parent unless you're making a substantial amount of money. We just don't have that luxury of being able to slow down. So when I was on public benefits, there was a 60-month time limit, so 5 years. I was 17 when I was pregnant. By the time I was 22 and not a math major, which would be really easy. So I would have been ineligible for benefits. There's some exemptions, but it's not the rule, it's the exception. If there's a domestic abuse or Kayla can speak a little more to what those exemptions might be, but the vast majority of individuals who are in poverty have a very limited time frame. Another myth is related to that work expectation. So the biggest overhaul that happened in policy was in the Clinton administration with the welfare reform program. They referred to it as the welfare to work program. So there's a requirement of 40 hours of job search. If you're doing job search and you're making $420 a month, I mean, you can do the math there at 40 hours a week. It's about, I don't know, $1 an hour. I can't really do the math that quickly. So it's a lot of work, a lot of effort for very little benefits.
One thing real quick when talking about public assistance benefits, so I think another myth is that if families that are on public assistance have more kids, so they get more public assistance. I mean, how many times I grew up hearing that, and in the case when Jen referred to the welfare to work during the Clinton administration, one of the overhauls with that was if you're on cash assistance and you have another child, you do not get one more dime in cash assistance for that child. So you could have one child and you're going to get $437 a month. You have another child and another child and another child, and you're going to get $437 a month. So that's, I think, a myth that has been carried through for decades, and it's just, no, it hasn't been true for probably a couple decades.
Has that amount changed?
No, ever. Like how long? Not that since I've been at the county. So, yeah.
So when I work for a financial institution, what we see a lot is that people in transportation, we live in really, there's not good public transportation. So if you can't afford a car, you can't afford car insurance, or you don't qualify, right? You gotta have good credit, you have to have all these things, you can't get there. I specifically am thinking of a teller that we have who really wants this next level job. She has to have a car, so she can't even apply for the job. She doesn't have a car, right? It's 2 pay grades up for her. So what can we do? So the next question, I believe that we're going to take this one, is do you see poverty as a cultural problem, an economic problem, or both?
So have any of you read that Ruby Payne book, the Bridges Out of Poverty, a framework for understanding poverty? So years ago I read this and I was still living in poverty, surviving on public benefits. And it was this light bulb moment of, wow, there's this culture of poverty. And I won't dive into all of those characteristics because as the years have gone by, I'm starting to believe that there's more of a culture of scarcity. So not necessarily, poverty isn't going to determine my definable characteristics. That scarcity mentality, when you think about trauma, I don't know how many of you know about trauma or where you operate in the brain, but you're in that fight, flight, freeze space, survival. When you're in survival every single day, it's very hard to cultivate meaningful relationships and to really work on building your own sense of self-esteem or really progressing beyond your day-to-day survival. So I don't know so much if there's a culture of poverty, but I do believe there's a culture of scarcity and not having enough.
And thank you for bringing up Ruby King's book. On your tables, I have a really interesting graphic that I believe I got from that book.
Okay.
And so it's people, there's poverty, middle class, and wealth. And how do people in poverty view possessions? How do middle class, social emphasis, food? So, you know, poverty, food, key question, did you have enough? Did you eat? So the scarcity piece. Middle class, did you like it? You know, did you enjoy it? Did I make you, you know, happy? And food for wealth, was it presented well? You know, how did it look? So this is, and you can take these with you if you want. I use this at work to help with some empathy training that we do with our staff. So.
So there are pieces of that I agree with, and that is one part of it. For years after I had enough to eat, I would go to trainings like these events like this, and I would overload on like food and snacks and just put them in my purse. And one of my colleagues / mentors, I was talking to her about it, and she's like, "Well, do you need that now? Like, do you need those extra granola bars?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know if this is like surviving, it was like stealing. I just wanted them because they were there. And I was so accustomed to not having enough that it was easy, like, or impulsive, or just I didn't really think about it. Or like, I don't know if they talk about formal register, so how you communicate. That's a real learned experience, and how I communicate with someone and the way that I speak impacts the opportunities I have. And so when I first started working, I worked at the middle school for a little while in mental health services. And I remember walking up to this man who'd ordered pizza for lunch. And I yell, and I'm like, "Hey, Mark, you ordered pizza?" Like, just loud as can be. And he was so embarrassed, and I didn't really understand why. And like, someone says, you're like, "Well, I didn't wait to ask, like, to talk to him when you walked up to him," but I yelled like a quarter mile away because I just wanted him to know I saw him. But you just don't even think about it. And I was loud. I didn't have the same language, the same like communication style. Now I can flow, we call it code switching. I can flow between different groups and communicate effectively. But that takes time if it's not the model too.
Thank you. Is there anything specific in common with people in poverty? Is there a commonality that you see?
I think a common thing is that it is hard to get out of poverty. It's a cycle that is difficult to get out of. And I'll give one example. I walked alongside of someone that comes from a household of poverty, and it was time for her to get a driver's license and to get car insurance, and her car insurance was going to be $400 a month because of choices that her parents had made. And so then it was easier for her to just not have car insurance. And there's issues that go along with that, but because of choices a lot of people's parents had made, it, you know, trickles down to them, and that's hard to get out of. So that's one common thing.
What I see with a lot of the families that I work with and we can talk about transportation a little bit, but transportation is a really big barrier, especially in a community like Brainerd, Minnesota, and we're lucky to have the bus services that we have, but it's such limited as far as time. So as I was driving here, I noticed Northeast McDonald's had a sign that said they're hiring for nights and weekends, and families that I work with that don't have transportation aren't going to be able to get there because the bus doesn't run during those times. And childcare is also a barrier that I see for a lot of families. And again, we can look at the McDonald's marquee, And for those of you that have children, that have had children or had children in daycare, you know, that's kind of a Monday through Friday gig. So if you're looking for childcare nights and weekends, it can be a nightmare. So I think that really keeps people at work with families that want to work, they have the skills to work, but they have those two big barriers that keep them from being employed.
So the common piece that Shannon talked about with the difficulty of moving out of poverty, the majority of people who, depending on what income level you're born into, most people stay in the income level they're born into. You know, people who like kind of those rags to riches story, or individuals who maybe squandered all of their inheritance, but that's often the exception, not the rule. So just even considering in your own lives, like people that you know and what their background is, and how many people have come from poverty and are standing alongside you. I think that's a big part of it. Another thing to consider is the impact in school. So with children and learning, you know, if you have parents that are able to dedicate time to help with education and they're not working multiple jobs, children are able to thrive more in an educational setting. So we know that 30+% of white children experience poverty at least 1 year in their life, right? Black children, that's about 75%. So we also have to look at other issues of diversity in regards to poverty. When I thought about that in just my own exploration of like, why is that? Why is that so high? Like 259 million white people in the United States, about 43 million black people. So I'm kind of faced with these two things to consider. Like either 75% of black people, like they're in some way inferior, which that feels just gross even saying that, or there's this system barrier, and poverty plays a big part of that.
The research that I've done too really covers policy. going way back. So what does the term working poor mean to you?
Okay, who's ready for some numbers? Not me. And if you don't pull out your calculator, because I probably did math on this wrong, but just social workers are not non-math. So one thing I want to talk about is the federal poverty level. So you can have families, like we talked about, many families that are in poverty or on public assistance are families that are working. So the federal poverty level for a family of four is $26,500, and the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. So if we have two working adults working full-time at minimum wage, they would gross about $2,320 a month. So that's $27,840 a year, which is obviously barely over the federal poverty level. And that's an income that would still qualify families to get some sort of public assistance, food support, which back in the day was called food stamps. So a family working full-time at minimum wage would still qualify for food support. So I also want you to think, you know, when you leave here and receiving a family of four at $2,320 a month, then you think, I don't know, $800 a month for rent, and then you think car insurance and gas and childcare, and I just don't know how anyone could make it working at minimum wage with two working adults. So when we have families that are doing that, and they're doing what we tell them to do, if you get a job and you work hard, you're going to be okay, you're going to make it. It's just not, the numbers don't add up, and it's not possible. And even the families that I've had that have done exactly what we tell them to do, go out, get a job, show up, don't call and sick, they are one, I guess, urgent situation away from losing that job. So they don't have sick time, they don't have paid time off, and their child is ill, they can't call in, they get a flat tire, how do you get there? So it really is a cycle, and when I've looked at the numbers, it's quite baffling that somebody could work full-time and still not be able to get themselves up and out of poverty.
Thanks, Carol. I know we're here at time, so we'll skip down to, I found this question very interesting, your responses to the COVID. How has COVID affected people in poverty?
So there's a lot of bad things, but I'd like to touch on one good thing that has happened of those in poverty in our area is the county has been housing homeless people since the beginning of the pandemic. And that has been a huge blessing for those homeless in our area. And that has been really good because they were able to collect data that we needed for some time in our area to see how many people are homeless, either without a house, couch hopping, or living in their cars. And so that has been valuable information that we can use as groups that are trying to make a warming shelter and provide something more permanent for homeless people. So that is a plus. The negative part is that COVID has, put lots of people in poverty, and I've seen that firsthand at the soup kitchen where we've had people show up that have never had to use our services before, and they're people that had decent paying jobs or lost hours, but they make too much in the unemployment, and so they can't get some of the government benefits from, so because of their income. And so we've been fortunate at the soup kitchen, we don't have any income barriers, and so anyone can come and get food, but there's a lot of people out there that can't pay their bills right now because of COVID situation. And Caleb kind of touched on like the daycare situation. There's a huge population of the soup kitchen that might be one income families, and you think about what happened during COVID when with school care, and then they can't go to school, and this child isn't old enough to stay home alone, and these parents have jobs that have no sick time or vacation, and so then what do? So that makes it all worse for them.
One big kind of barrier that I've heard from my clients, and I do a lot of virtual sessions right now, is the child care piece Phyllis mentioned, but also accessing benefits. So there's, right now there's a pretty big divide in our community about, who believes in masks, who doesn't. Again, the privilege or luxury to make a decision to stay home. They can't access their EBT benefits without using it in person. So they can't have that food directly delivered to their doorstep, even if they wanted to. So they have to go to the store, and if that's something that they're not safe or comfortable doing, it puts them at a higher risk. And again, that's increasing financial burden to the family if they end up contracting an illness.
One thing that really struck me through all of this is how hard it would be to have a job that didn't have any sick time or paid time off. And when you need that job to make ends meet, and you have a little bit of a fever, and this is if I don't pay my rent or I don't pay my bills, what are you gonna do? And back in the olden days, like a year and a half ago, we take some Tylenol and, get to work. And it really hit me last year when I was going to, maybe a fast food place or a place like that where I knew they probably weren't getting any paid time off or sick time. And I'm thinking to myself, how much of this is a community or a public health issue that families can't take a day off or time off when they're sick right now. And I really thought a lot about that.
Mm-hmm. I know we're coming close to our time, so I wanted to open up if anybody had any questions for our poverty experts.
Jim?
Yeah.
You want me to use that? So I've been kind of in real estate and the financial world for most of my life. So I understand a little bit about leverage. So my question is, what one or two things would really move the needle when it comes to poverty? What would be a game changer that could really make a difference? You're first, or you get it?
Okay, so don't give me a dirty look, business owners, but I think increasing the minimum wage is going to be a great place to start, or something to think about anyway, and also some of those benefits that go along with being able to take a day off if needed. And then I think really on a local level, the childcare and transportation piece, and I don't have the answer to that, I wish I did. But that's, I think, something, if you think about being able to move the needle a little bit, you know, there are some really decent paying jobs in this community, but you have to be able to get there, and you have to be able to provide childcare for your children. So,
two things that come to mind is we need mental health housing for people, and also something for homeless people to help them get off the streets and move to the next level and get them back on their feet, because it's hard when you're living on the streets to get started again.
I misread your cue. Okay, so I agree with both of them, and in addition, I would say social capital. So I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's just people investing in people. So really investing your time, energy, and talents in others. There's a question on here that we skipped about family structure and how that impacts poverty. But I'll say that I have a family member who's really made a lot of wealth, and they have a teenager who is pregnant, and they have found a way to get them into a house and assisted them with buying all the baby stuff, and they're doing so much, which is awesome. Like, that's amazing. And when an individual who's in poverty doesn't have a village like that, we often judge and condemn them versus thinking about ways we can lift them up. Just empathy, having that gentleness and empathy and non-judgment, and being able to treat someone like a human being. When I feel worthy, I'm going to show up in a much different way than if I feel judged or condemned or like I'm not enough.
Any other questions? So I think it's important to talk about it, right? And that's why we're here. For those of you who don't know, Jennifer is a talented songwriter and vocalist, and she actually wrote a song about her experiences, and she'd like to share it with you as our closing line.
Okay, so I wrote this a long time ago when I was very deeply in poverty. And my voice isn't warm, but when I come in my mouth, I can't even look at you all because I'm nervous. Okay. All right. Poverty is like crying a little each and every day. Poverty is like dying a little every time you're turned away. You gotta bend your pride and humble yourself to feed your children and ask for help. Poverty is about surviving life instead of living it your own way. So why not use the ears of pain, and why not steal to have something? I'd rather feel raised than feel nothing. I'll expect me to feel ashamed. And no, I don't live in poverty because it's a life I want. It's not the choices I made or the things I've done. It's just the hand that I got. And you work so hard to pay someone else to raise your kids for you. It's not that they don't do their job, they just can't love them like you do. And they say they're lazy, and if we work hard, we can make it on our own. We live in this world where they live among you, but it's like we're all alone. Poverty is about despair. When you get give up the struggle cause the world don't fight fair. And you give up the hope cause you no longer care. So why not use to feel something? And why not still to have something? Someone please stop this pain. It's easy for you if I'm to blame. Poverty is like crying a little each and every day. Poverty is like dying a little every time you're turned away. You gotta bend your pride and humble yourself to feed your children and ask for help. Poverty is by surviving life instead of living it your way.
Thank you, guys. No singing charters here. Madden's is hosting business after hours tonight, 4:30 to 6. Do we know where that's at, Madden's? What? Wilson Lodge, I'm gonna say, not Norwegian Club. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Nice job, Trevor. Hi there, can you hear me? I don't know if there's still people there. Can you hear me, Heather? Oh, you can. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Faintly. So I can hear you. It looks like is your face on your phone and your picture on the computer?
My face is on the computer and my audio should be coming through the phone.
So I can hear you very faintly. Let me try to make sure it's not my volume here.
Headphones to try and not pick up so much feedback.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
Let's try and see if.
Now,
Can you hear me now?
I can, and I can hear a lot of the feedback or the background noise, but I'm sure it's pretty noisy there.
So what I was trying is, they've got a record here, and so I was going to try and hook that into the computer to see if we could, maybe pick up the microphone, but it doesn't work.
Shoot.
So I think we would have been fine, but we had this panel, so we couldn't pass the microphone around.
Right.
But I think
Sounds like
everybody had fun.
I know, it sounds like a party, actually, although I'm glad I missed it. God, I was bawling like a baby during that song.
Oh, and I had gone outside to my car to grab this cable. I didn't know there was going to be a song, but I had to stand outside and listen.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm still teary-eyed. It's crazy.
So people are hanging out.
See, oh, now I see it. Nice. Oh, I see Lee.
Yep.
That's great. So nice to be in person. Sure wish I was there. Wow, people are hanging out.
Yeah, it's just nice to hear the chatter.
I agree.
All right, well, it can only get better.
True.
Oh, just a second.
I'll just hang with you. I don't have to, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just sitting right here.
Yeah, I don't think that's not what I was looking for.
You know, I think Adam is right. I think more of it has to do with the acoustics than it has to do with Zoom. Because it's just echoey in there, and I don't know what you do. I mean, there's super high ceilings, and, you know, who would have expected COVID, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure if they would have designed it now, they would take that into account.
Yeah, I think, you know, it comes down to the microphone. And I've even looked at like a Bluetooth lapel. So then that could be passed around, but I did ask Dan last night to see what his recommendation was for that. I don't know, he had one that he had recommended.
Yeah.
But he's shooting a video in Wisconsin or Michigan or something, so he was gonna look at it but didn't get a chance. So that owl thing that the district was looking at is like 800 or 900.
Okay.
And I think the one Dan had was more like 6.
Okay. Hey, how's your son?
Oh, much better. He went back to school yesterday, so he's doing well.
Good. Good.
This is a very flattering angle.
You know, Zoom has made you figure out how you can position yourself, the camera, because if I do, you know, like this.
What's it supposed to be, like this?
You're always supposed to go up higher, and I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay, well, I'll get this cleaned up, and that was a good panel. I wish you guys could have heard it better.
Oh, it was much better after whatever you did. And then I put my Zoom on speaker view. And so when I put it on speaker view, it was a perfect view of the three of them. And when they were passing the microphone, I could hear just fine.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah, it was just the third one that I had troubles hearing.
Okay.
So what I do is I keep headphones in, so I hear what the Zoom people hear.
Oh, you're so smart.
So then I can tell if there's like issues, but I also have a hard time interrupting people.
Yeah, it's awkward. I mean, what do? You know, you don't want to, especially if people are nervous speaking. You know, I hate to interrupt somebody in the middle of a speech. You know, I hate public speaking. I have to do it all the time, but I hate it and I get just nervous. So if I can just keep on my rhythm, then I can not get in my head. But,
yeah.
All right. Hey, have you ever done a Rotary Notary?
No.
Would you do one?
I don't do public speaking.
I know you don't.
Isn't that more like about interesting people?
You are interesting.
Well, I don't know about that.
I do. Well, do me a favor and think about it.
Okay, when do you need one?
Next Tuesday. I have 2 people lined up. So I have, no, I had 2 people lined up. I had Chris and Julie Anderholm lined up. But Chris now just let me know that he can only join virtually, and Julie ended up with a conflict. So Julie can't make it. So the two that I had lined up, I don't know that are going to be able to make it.
Okay.
Think about it, I'll
That's
reach
the
out to you.
20th.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes. You know, who are you? What do you do? You know, you did the port thing, and that was great.
Yeah, that's almost all of my life though.
Well, no, you have a husband and kids and a dog and college, and you know, you have a lot of stuff. It's interesting. Yeah. All right, well, I'll bug you about it later.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll say yes.
Okay.
Count
Thanks,
me
Heather.
in.
Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.